The DNA test confirmed what Sarah Miller already felt in her bones. A phantom presence shadowing her entire life. But the lab's sterile report didn't mention the whispers that followed her home, the faint scent of ozone that clung to her clothes after dark, or the cold, damp patches that appeared on her bedroom ceiling. It certainly didn't explain the grainy video on her baby monitor, where a figure with her exact face stood silently over her sleeping infant, its hand resting on the crib with a sticky, possessive touch. Sarah's breath hitched, trapped in her throat, as she realized the truth wasn't about finding a sister. It was about something that had found her first. A perfect copy that didn't want to share this world. And now, it was in her house, breathing her air, touching what was hers with fingers that smelled faintly of iron and decay. This is not a story of reunion. It is a story of replacement. But when she searched her own past for proof, she found it had been methodically erased. Every record was deleted, scrubbed clean as if by a ghost. Only one artifact remained, impossible and terrifying. A single piece of footage from her infancy. This video offered irrefutable, chilling evidence that the twin sister she remembered had never existed at all. Sarah's life in Columbus, Ohio, was comfortable. She had a loving husband, Mark, and a marketing job she tolerated. Her relationship with her parents, Diane and Robert, was acceptable. It was a good life, a fine life, wrapped in the quiet fabric of the ordinary. Sarah always sensed a certain distance, a formality that bordered on coldness. Whenever conversation drifted toward family history, the atmosphere would subtly shift. An almost imperceptible chill would seep into the air, a quiet withdrawal that she could feel. She dismissed it as simple privacy, the guarded nature of quiet people, reserved, that was, until her 30th birthday. On a whim, she submitted her DNA to one of those ancestry services. Days later, she clicked, "See results." With casual curiosity, the screen loaded, and her breath hitched in her throat. When the results loaded, she anticipated vague Scottish ancestry. What she never anticipated was the first match at the very top. 100% identical. A twin. Sarah's voiceover comes breathless, electric with excitement. Mark, look at this. I have a twin. A sister. How could my parents not know this? How do you lose a twin? The profile was utterly blank. A metallic, coppery scent, like old blood, suddenly filled the air. No name, no picture, just a username. Echo_23. Sarah messaged her immediately. No reply. The silence thickened, dense and unsettling. That first doubt was a cold whisper in her mind. She called her mother, Diane. The air in the room felt suddenly heavy, like it was holding its breath. Mom, you're not gonna believe this. Her voice sounded small, swallowed by the oppressive quiet. She could smell ozone, faint but unmistakable, like the air before a storm. My DNA test says I have an identical twin. The line went so quiet, Sarah thought the connection had died. Finally, a filtered, tense voice broke the void. Diane's reply was measured, each word coded in forced calm. Those tests are notoriously inaccurate, sweetheart. It's a mistake. You were an only child, you know that. But Sarah didn't know that.
Not anymore. Her mother's voice wasn't reassuring. It carried the metallic tang of a lie and the damp chill of forgotten runes. It felt rehearsed. The tone was that of someone who'd waited 3 decades for this exact question. As the conversation continued, the air in the room grew heavy with the scent of old paper and something metallic. Then came the escalation. The background music shifted to a low, droning hum that seemed to vibrate through the floorboards. Sarah became consumed. Her obsession took hold like a fever, her focus narrowing to a single, terrifying point.
She combed through the faded baby photos, each one showing her alone in the crib. No second bassinet, no twin stroller, just her solitary infant self. The air grew heavy with the scent of old paper and latent dread. But then, her fingers brushed against it. The one photo that didn't belong. Dusty camcorder tapes lay in her parents' basement, each labeled in her father's precise handwriting. Sarah, first 6 months. That evening, with Mark beside her, she pressed play. Grainy 1990s footage flickered to life, showing a nursery where baby Sarah slept soundly in her crib. They watched for hours, immersed in ordinary, cherished moments. The first bath, the first smile. Then, on a tape labeled month 4, she saw it. Something in the crib's corner. A second, tiny blue blanket, neatly folded. Sarah discovered a blanket that never appeared in any photograph. Her voice trembled as she whispered, "Why is there a second blanket?" Mom didn't knit. She always said she didn't have the patience. The air grew heavy with the scent of old wool and something faintly metallic, like dried blood. A primal dread took hold as she confronted her parents, her breath hitching at their evasive, shifting eyes. This time, in person, the chill in the air deepened into a palpable, penetrating cold. Her parents, Robert and Diane, sat rigidly on the sofa, their faces carved from stone. A faint, metallic scent, like old iron, seemed to hang in the still air. Then Robert spoke, his voice a low, flat command that felt colder than the room itself. "Sarah, this fantasy has to stop. You're upsetting your mother." Diane's eyes glistened, her voice iron firm. There was no twin. You were a miracle baby after years of trying. That's the story. That's the truth. The final word hung in the air, thick with the scent of old paper and ozone. But it wasn't. The silence that followed was a physical weight, broken only by the distant, rhythmic scratch of a branch against a window. The next day, Echo_23 finally replied. The message was just 3 words. Check the baby monitor. Sarah had completely forgotten about it. In the back of that same basement box sat an ancient, digital baby monitor system. A wave of dread washed over her as she remembered its grainy screen and the heavy plastic camera. The air in the room grew thick and stale, carrying the scent of old dust and forgotten memories. The memory card held a secret. The files were dated. A metallic tang filled the air as the computer whirred to life. The screen flickered with corrupted data streams, each one older than the last. His fingers grew cold against the keyboard. The timestamps weren't just old. They predated the device's own manufacture by years. A deep, unsettling dread settled in the room. The digital archive whispered of impossible histories, one from when she would have been about 9 months old. The timestamp, 2:17 a.m. Sarah clicked play. Visual. Extremely grainy, green-tinted night vision footage. The nursery held its breath, the only movement the gentle rise and fall of baby Sarah's sleeping form. Then, the air shifted, carrying the faint, metallic scent of old copper. A long, low groan of protesting wood shattered the fragile quiet. A silhouette filled the doorway, backlit by the harsh hall light. It was her mother, Diane, but the figure's posture was all wrong. Rigid and unnaturally still. The air grew thick and metallic, like the smell before a storm. This wasn't a check-in. It was a vigil. She's utterly motionless. And she isn't alone. Sarah. Oh my God. Behind her mother, another figure materializes. A man. The air thickens with the scent of damp earth and cold iron. This wasn't her father, Robert. The figure stood taller, gaunter, his silhouette stretched against the wall. Diane turned toward him, her face a mask of pure anguish in the faint light, her features distorted by shadow. She whispered something, her voice barely audible, the words catching in her throat like broken glass. Her hands pressed together as if in prayer, fingers white-knuckled, the air between them thick with the scent of damp earth and something metallic. The man's body was rigid, his surrender complete. He gave a slow, heavy nod. Diane drifted toward the crib, her movements silent and deliberate. She didn't reach for the child. Instead, she just stood there, a cold, silent sentinel. The only sound was the faint, damp whisper of her breath in the still air. Her hands tremble as she reaches into the crib, withdrawing the second, blue blanket. She presses the fabric to her face, shoulders shuddering with silent grief. The air grows thick with the scent of old wool and dried tears. The stranger's hand rests on her shoulder, a cold, weighty comfort, before they both retreat into the gloom. The door clicks shut, leaving the crib with just one infant and a single blanket. Sarah's breath hitched as a heavy silence settled over the room, thick with the scent of stale air. A single, haunting piano note pierced the stillness, sharp as a needle. The world dropped out from under her. The video was proof, undeniable and terrifying. The DNA registry was clear. His twin was alive, but the footage told a different story entirely. The air in the room turned thick and metallic, like ozone after a storm. He could hear the faint, wet sound of something dripping in the background of the video. A primal dread took hold as the impossible truth settled in his bones. Sarah's voice trembles, raw with disbelief. They gave her away. That night, the words hang in the air like a cold, damp mist. They gave my sister away. Then, a whisper that fractures into pure dread. To that man. Her final question is a plea, swallowed by the dark. Who was he? An uncle? A doctor? Armed with the video, Sarah approached her parents for the final time. She didn't ask, she stated. The words hung in the air, thick and final. A faint, metallic scent of iron seemed to bloom in the room, carried on a sudden, cold draft. Her declaration was met with a stillness so profound it felt like the house itself was holding its breath. In the dim living room, Sarah's parents looked ancient, hollowed out by years of silent torment. Sarah's voice cut through the heavy air. Who was the man in the video, Mom? Who did you give my sister to? Diane's composure shattered completely, her voice raw and broken. She was sick, Sarah. She wept, the words thick with decades-old anguish. She was so sick. The specialists' prognosis was grim. She wouldn't survive. Then, a private pediatric expert offered to admit her. He promised round-the-clock care at his facility. This, he insisted, was our sole chance to save her. We were so young, so scared, and drowning in debt. Robert. We signed papers, confidentiality papers. He said if she lived, he would find a family for her. If she died,
He would handle it. We were bound to silence, to act as if she had never existed, for our sanity and for your own. The air grew heavy with the scent of damp earth and old grief, a silent pact sealed in the dark.
we mourned her in private, burying her not in soil, but deep within the hollows of our hearts. Now, only the faint, sticky residue of memory remains, a whisper in the stillness we dare not acknowledge. And then, we tried to love you enough for two. The story was tragic, but it made a terrible kind of sense, except for one glaring, impossible detail: that she's alive. Her DNA is on the website. She's looking for me. Echo_23. Diane and Robert locked eyes. Their faces drained of color. A primal dread took hold, thick as the stale air around them. Robert's voice was a bare whisper, cracking with disbelief. That's not possible. He assured us that he showed us a death certificate, a private burial, shrouded in secrecy, and paid for with everything they had. Diane's voice cracks with desperation. Who else could know? Who else would say that? The conclusion arrives with a swell of music, a haunting melody that feels like a final, mournful goodbye. Sarah never got another message from Echo_23. The profile simply went dark, leaving behind only a sticky, unsettling silence. The police finally located Dr. Arthur Vance, long retired and living in Arizona. He confirmed the unsettling story of a terminally ill infant twin, once placed in his now-defunct hospice. From a worn leather satchel, he produced the official document. The air in the room grew heavy with the scent of old paper and decay, as the certificate's finality settled over the investigators. His story was utterly convincing, delivered with unwavering conviction. But the DNA evidence is irrefutable, a cold, scientific truth that cannot be argued with. And the video footage, grainy and silent, confirms the same brutal, undeniable fact. So, if the twin is truly dead, a question hangs in the air, thick with the scent of ozone and dread. Who, or what, is Echo_23? Sarah exists in a phantom world, haunted by a sister she never met. She watches her parents and sees two architects of a 30-year lie. Now, their deepest terror isn't that the truth is dead, but that it might still be breathing. And in the quiet of every night, that single, forgotten username whispers back from the dark. Echo_23, a spectral imprint of an existence supposedly extinguished. And that number, 23, the date of her birth. It was the only piece of her that her sister ever truly knew. A single, chilling fragment in a void of absence. A faint scent of ozone and old paper hung in the air where her memory should have been. The DNA test confirmed she had a twin. The crib footage proved a twin was taken, but the only person who can answer what happened next is a ghost with a username. A ghost who is, according to science, very much alive. Who watches Sarah's life from behind that blank profile? Is it a lost sister yearning for reunion? Or something far more sinister? Someone who knows the true price her parents paid that night. The debt written not in money, but in something far older and darker. And now, that someone has come to collect. Some secrets aren't buried. They're just waiting for the right moment to come knocking. The air grew heavy with the scent of damp earth and something faintly metallic, like old pennies. A sticky, unnatural cold seeped through the floorboards, crawling up from the foundation. Then, from the absolute stillness, came a single, deliberate scratch at the door.
Like the journey? Subscribe and join the next expedition.